Good evening, everybody. This is Dawn, aka the Interactive Nanny, coming to you again this week from Interactive Nanny's world, where love and play are interacting. This evening, we're going to do Storytime, and we're going to be reading from two brand new books. The first book is entitled Rapunzel, a groovy fairytale. So I'm thinking this might be a new, updated version of the original Rapunzel, but we're about to find out. Rapunzel, a groovy fairy tale. Oh my gosh, I wish you guys could see these pictures. They're so cute, and I think this is going to be an updated version of the original Rapunzel. In a time not so long ago, in a land much like our own, there lived a very beautiful girl with the most extraordinarily long red hair. Her name was Rapunzel, and she lived with her Aunt Esme and Roach, Esme's hideous pet cow. Rapunzel had been brought up by Esme after her parents died when she was very young. Esme kept her locked up so she couldn't go out of the house and enjoy herself. To keep Rapunzel quiet and make herself seem nice, which she was not, Esme bought Rapunzel secondhand magazines and records and occasionally allowed her to watch television. When you're older, Esme lied, I'll take you out and show you to the city, but it's not safe for you on your own. Rapunzel believed every word, for she knew nothing of the world. The apartment building they lived in was old and deserted. The elevator was always broken, and there were hundreds of stairs to the ground. This was not a problem for Aunt Esme because she had a special way of entering and leaving the building. Rapunzel would hang her braid over the balcony, and Esme would climb down it. On her return, she would shout, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair!" And then Rapunzel would throw her long braid over the balcony. Esme would grab hold, and Rapunzel would slowly pull her up. Aunt Esme worked at the local school. She was the most fearsome lunch lady the children had ever seen. Prowling around the cafeteria, she would force them to eat every scrap of food, even cold pea soup and lumpy pudding. Esme also trained Roach to swoop down and steal things from the children to bring to her. Esme selfishly took all the best things and gave the scarves and jewelry she did not like to Rapunzel, pretending that she had brought them. One morning, as Aunt Esme struggled down Rapunzel's hair, a boy who had stopped to fix his bike on the way to school happened to see this extraordinary sight. His name was Roger, and he was a singer in a local school band, Roger and the Rascals. Aunt Esme roared off on her motorcycle, he thought. That's the nasty lunch lady from the school. What is she doing? After school, he raced back to the apartment. To his astonishment, he heard the nasty lunch lady booming out, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." Seeing the beautiful red braid tumbled over the balcony, Roger knew he had to meet this girl with the long hair. The next day was Saturday, and Roger could not wait to go back. Luckily for him, Esme was just on her way to a fitness class. Roger took a deep breath and, trying his best to imitate Esme's booming voice, he called, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." To his astonishment, the rope of hair was lowered. Hesitantly, Roger took hold of it, then gasped as he was lifted instantly into the air. When he reached the balcony, he fell over the walls onto all fours. "Oh my!" Rapunzel exclaimed as she found herself face to face with the most handsome boy she'd ever seen. Rapunzel and Roger spent the whole morning listening to music and talking. "I feel as if I've known you forever," Rapunzel whispered, gazing into Roger's eyes. Every day after this, Roger would wait for Esme to leave and then visit Rapunzel to say good morning before he went to school. He took Rapunzel a present every lunchtime, and sometimes he took along his guitar so he could sing. Sorry about that, y'all. That was an alarm. Sing so he could sing his new songs for her. She was happier than she'd ever been. One day Roger said, "I wish I could find a way to get you out of the apartment so that I could show you the city. You cannot very well climb down on your own hair, and we cannot take the stairs that Esme never forgets to lock the door." Rapunzel thought for a moment. "I have a great idea," she said. "Why don't we make a rope ladder from all the scarves and belts I have?" Together they set to work. The very next day, after saying goodbye to Roger, Rapunzel let down her hair for her aunt. As Esme reached the top, Rapunzel said without thinking, "You are so heavy, Aunt. It is much easier to pull up my dear Roger." The moment the words were out, Rapunzel knew she had spoiled everything. Esme flew into rage. She grabbed a pair of scissors and cut off Rapunzel's long hair. "How dare you deceive me?" cried Esme as she forced Rapunzel to climb down her own hair. "May you never find happiness," she screamed. Seething with anger, Esme waited on the balcony for Roger. Before long, Roger called to Rapunzel to let down her hair and whistled as he was lifted up, happy at the thought of seeing her again. But to his horror, when he reached the top, the ugly, twisted face of Esme leered out at him. "You'll never see Rapunzel again," Esme hissed in his ear as she pushed him backwards over the balcony. The hair tumbled with him as he fell to the ground. Wrapped around him, the braid broke his fall as he banged his head and fell unconscious. Ooh. Meanwhile, wandering through the streets, Rapunzel grew tired and hungry. She found a stray kitten, nearly as hungry as she was, and called him Rascal after Roger's band. All her life she wanted to visit the city, but never had she felt more lonely and lost. "Will I ever see Roger again?" she wondered, holding Rascal close. Roger, however, remembered nothing about Rapunzel. Dazed from his fall, he staggered home with the hair he found wrapped around his body. He had no idea where it had come from. Roger put it in his dad's garage, which he used as a studio. It must mean something, he thought, as he practiced his guitar. Rapunzel slept in a damp shop doorway that night with Rascal clasped in her arms. As she awoke, stretching her arms and yarning, she caught sight of a poster. "Roger," she cried out in surprise. Her beloved Roger and his band were playing a concert at the school that very evening. She would find the school and see Roger again. Rapunzel could barely contain her excitement when she arrived for the concert. She found a space in the front row just as Roger and his band walked on stage to loud applause. Roger looked out into the crowd, and as he began to sing, his eyes rested on a strangely familiar halo of red hair. And when he looked at Rapunzel's beautiful smiling face, he remembered everything. Rapunzel and Roger were best friends from that moment on, and as happy as could be. Roger and the Rascals became very successful, playing at every school in town. Rapunzel decided to make use of her glorious red hair, learn how to make wigs. She designed them in every style and length imaginable, as long as they were red. And what happened to Aunt Esme? Well, she no longer had Rapunzel's hair, and the elevator, of course, was out of order. So I guess that meant Aunt Esme had to use all those thousands of stairs in the apartment building. So yeah, that was a sort of updated version of the Rapunzel. Still had the same concept, but it was just done up a little bit, for our times or whatnot. We're gonna do another story in just a second. And of course, you guys, I actually really do have a lot of Dr. Seuss books. So this is going to be a Dr. Seuss book. I can read with my eyes shut. I wonder, can anybody read with their eyes shut? Dr. Seuss, this book, Dr. Seuss says he can read with his eyes shut. The character in this book, rather. I can read with my eyes shut. I can read in red. I can read in blue. I can read in pickle color too. I can read in bed and in purple, and I can read in a circle and upside down. Wow. I can read with my left eye. I can read with my right. I can read Mississippi with my eyes shut tight. Mississippi, Indianapolis, and Hallelujah too. I can read them with my eyes shut. That is very hard to do. But it's bad for my hat, and it makes my eyebrows get red hot. So reading with my eyes shut, I didn't do that an awful lot. Wow. And when I keep them open, I can read with much more speed. You have to be a speedy reader because there's so much more to read. You can read about 3 trees and bees and knees. Knees on trees and bees on threes. You can read about anchors and all about ants. You can read about ankles and crocodile pants. You can read about hoses and how to smell the roses and what you should do about owls on noses. Young cat, if you keep your eyes open enough, oh, the stuff you will learn, the most wonderful stuff you'll learn about. Fish bones and wishbones. You'll learn about trombones too. You'll learn about Jake and the pillow snake. All about Foo-Foo and Snoop. Foo-Foo the Snoop. Foo-Foo the Snoop is something else to look at too, y'all. You can learn about ice. You can learn about mice. Mice on ice and ice on mice. You can learn about the price of ice. Nice ice for sale. 10 cents a pail. You can learn about sad and glad and mad. There's so many things you can learn about, but you'll miss the best things if you keep your eyes shut. The more that you read, the more things you will know. The more that you learn, the more places you'll go. You might learn a way to earn a few dollars, or how to make donuts or kangaroo collars. You can learn to read music and play the hut-zut if you keep your eyes open but not with them shut. If you read with your eyes shut, you're likely to find that the place where you're going is far, far behind. So that's why I tell you to keep your eyes wide. Keep them wide open, at least on one side. And that's the end of the stories. Alright, you guys, so we just had a little story time for this evening. We read about Rapunzel, a groovy fairy tale, and I can read with my eyes shut. So I hope you guys enjoyed your story time this evening, and we'll be back next week with something new. Until then, this is Don, aka the Interactive Nanny, coming to you from Interactive Nanny's world where love and play are interacting. Subscribe, listen, share, you guys. Share. If you have any questions or comments or requests of any kind, or if it's something specific that you want us to discuss on Interactive Nanny's world, you can message me in the app, or you can email me at interactivenanny@gmail.com. Until then, we'll see you guys next week. Have a great one. Bye-bye.